How you doing, folks? Yours truly, Randy Rand here for today's talk. Today we talked to Dr. Roma Benjamin, and the topic that we discussed was how policy affects you. It was some pretty good and straightforward talk about how we as African Americans might benefit from being a little more astute when it comes to policy development and implementation. I strongly suggest that you give it a good listen to and even take notes as she imparted some very good knowledge and a lot of knowledge, quite frankly, about policy and knowing about policy and how it's developed. Enjoy the interview. Thanks. All right, and we're back. Yours truly, Randy Rand, here speaking with Dr. Roma Benjamin. She is the founder of New Sound Literacy and Technology Center. She started her own reading center to teach children how to read and become achievers, fighting the school to prison pipeline. She's also the former principal of Roland School in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and a youth literacy advocate. And she is speaking across the country with other community leaders, empowering them to open their own reading centers and help their children lead a better life than going off to prison or dying. Today, we're going to be speaking about how policy affects you. It's a conversation that I love having because I think that a lot of us as African Americans and certainly as a community need to be informed about it. In your opinion, is there a need for people, especially African Americans, to get to know as much as possible about policy development and implementation?
Absolutely, Randy. When I think about this, when I think about policy and some of the things that as African Americans we have been in this darkness of ignorance,
Yes.
where where we easily blame somebody else for something, or decide that we didn't know. You won't know anything until you really get involved in it. Policy, the development of policy, the implementation of policy, the follow through of policy is very, very important, because if you don't understand what is being discussed and written about you, you will end up in life missing out on things that you didn't have to miss out, even if you are black. Because I know a lot of times when we're black, or I'm a female and black, we have different things that come against us and different forces that are not for us. But, if you don't know what's going on,
Yes.
and that's why I pulled out of the public school system. And these kids are going through years of school and coming out as non-readers. So can you imagine our generations to come
Sure.
that does not understand, they don't even understand their own metacognition.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand how they understand,
Mm-hmm.
how they think. You know what I'm saying? So imagine this. We keep promoting failure, then failure becomes the norm.
I
You
agree.
understand?
Yes.
It becomes the norm. It's acceptable. To my opinion, if you don't know what policies are being developed and implemented, then it's sad. And you got to be able to read and understand, hold a conversation other than what I want, new cell phone, new pair of shoes, new fingernails, new hair. You have to be able to hold a conversation, an intelligent conversation with people, and understand what's going on in this day and age.
Now, there have been many policies designed to ruin us as a people. This practice has been evident for over hundreds of years. How can education play a role in informing the masses of what's really going on with policy development?
One of the things, Randy, and I was talking with someone here in my center, because I train individuals to literally look at this thing called illiteracy and to
Yes.
bring literacy to the forefront. I literally train people. You don't have to have degrees. You have to have a desire to see kids' lives transformed. And when I think about this and some of the policies that exist, and it got past us because they said years ago, if you want to keep anything from a black person, a black man, you put it in a book.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
As long as if it's in a book and it has to be understood, we just might miss it. But it is very critical, especially with education. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, Randy, is because I desire to change policy.
Uh-huh.
I desire to change policy in this realm. Somebody said, well, you can't do it by yourself because these policies have existed for so many years. Yes, they have existed.
Yes.
But if somebody doesn't take the liberty to look at this and say, okay, what can I do to bring change? Because change calls for sacrifice. It sacrificed me 6 figures to leave a system where, paid my bills, paid my car notes, put clothes on my back, to leave a system that says, I know that it is killing our kids. Now, what do I do to change policy? How do I come about with curriculum that's really going to address the need, especially of African American and Latino males? How do I come and address that instead of just throwing them in a classroom? They're in the 5th grade. They're already reading on the 3rd grade level. You give them a 5th grade level book, and then you say they can't read. They can't, and then we put them in special ed. So it's up, me and those that are like me, and there are many more, that we have the power, sir, even in the church, because I'm a pastor too, and I deal with grown-ups right now who cannot read, been in and out of the prison system, and know that the majority of the inmates in the prison can't read. Because we talk about the pipeline from school to prison. My God, it's I don't even know if it's a pipeline anymore.
Yeah, it's just a gateway now.
It's almost a rite of passage to be in jail.
Yes.
You can't read, but you say the system made a mistake on you. No, like I said, it's up to me to create. I'm creating curriculum that really looks at how to intensively teach our children how to read, how to get them involved in the history of their culture, of their Black people, of the African Americans, how to be literate in a society that allows functional illiteracy to be accepted. Policy is very important, but it's like, what are we going to do to implement, to change, to infect the policy that already exists, to expose it? Literacy is learned. Illiteracy is a generational curse. What are we going to do to destroy that curse and bring to the forefront policy, development of policy, implementation of policy that can change the course of our society, of our communities? Because we just can't sit there down and say that exists, but
Yes.
What are we going to do to superimpose what should be taking place in our communities?
Please speak about the detrimental effects of the school to prison pipeline as a proposed policy or as a policy in general.
Well, the school to prison pipeline, I really don't see it as a policy. I see it as a curse. I see it as a detriment that almost has been accepted. I've been in the school system, the public school system, for 20 plus years, and I've deliberately worked in the urban school setting on purpose, so that I could make change in that. Of course, when you go to colleges, some colleges are historically Black or not, their education program is usually full of, Caucasians, usually full of middle-aged, young white women teaching. And so I said, I want to make a change, so I went into this literally to make a change, because if we're not careful, I've seen it with my own eyes, Randy. Kids are slipped through the system and then they have no hope. That's what makes it a pipeline from the school to the prison. They lose hope. The street become more of a reality to them, but the street kills them. It's just like people say, oh, he's street smart. Well, if you're street smart, you'll get out the street, because
Sure.
I'm sitting here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I cannot number how many young men and women now have been killed since I've been living I'm from Mount Vernon, New York, and I've been living here. How many are killed on a regular basis? And some of them are former students of mine. And when we did the research, they were ones who dropped out. They were ones who got involved in drugs. They were ones who played sports. And they just wanted them for their athletic ability on the field, but never invested in their ability to read and to comprehend. So the pipeline to prison, I don't see it as a policy. I see it as a detriment to our people.
Sure.
If we don't get in here and pull our sleeves up and figure out ways to address to bring change from that. That's why, Randy, I open up literacy centers and I go back to early age where most of the damage take place. And so I do this starting at age 4, and then I do kindergarten through 8th grade.
Okay.
Because usually in high school, they give you a Band-Aid just to get you a diploma. So we're still creating factory worker minds. Just get over enough and you can get a job at McDonald's, maybe a line supervisor. See, that's a mentality. Yes. That's a mentality that has been inserted, but you don't have to take it. You understand what I'm saying?
I agree.
I didn't take that mentality, and I'm African American, 7 out of 9 kids. And my mother and father, my father did not go to high school, 6th grade education. My mother, high school education, but they were very strong on us being readers. And so they never let up on us. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
They never my mother wouldn't take the status quo. She went to the high school and told them with my brothers, you're not putting them in shop classes. Put them in the advanced courses. We have to start somewhere, Randy, with looking at what's happening and then looking at the statistical data and then saying, okay, now what part am I going to play in this to bring resolve? What do we do now to bring hope back to our people?
We have to start somewhere. And I couldn't agree with you more. Should our children start learning about policy development and implementation as early as the 5th grade? Please explain.
Listen, if we could teach our children as early as kindergarten, 1st grade, because learning is sequential. You build on learning. You connect on learning. We give them everything else. So why not start teaching them about policy? Why not make them aware and bring them, on their level of understanding to understand these policies, when policies are made, how it affects your life for the rest of your life, and how you could get involved even right now to speak out and to speak up for who you are, for who you desire to be. For a minute there, when I was in the high school, I was high school principal as well. They were allowing kids to just play sports, and they were failing. Mm-hmm. And so I came along with my policy. I said, it won't happen. So when they would go show up to the field with their uniforms on, I got APs. I pointed them out. I said, get that one. They getting out of here. I would call down to the football field. I would be sitting up in the box, and I would say, number so-and-so better not go on that field today.
What?
You understand? I had to create my own policy to save the lives of those kids because individuals was not concerned about their foundation of education. They were more concerned about winning a championship, about winning, a pennant or something, crazy stuff. And so it is a responsibility to start teaching our children. But how do we do it? We have to give them the intensive reading instruction so that they know letters, the sounds letters make, how, what is a blend, so that when they read, it's not taking them 3 minutes to read one sentence because they cannot decode correctly. They don't have the phonics to do it. And then by the time they get to the end of the paragraph, they don't know what was in that paragraph. So they answer any question because now they're without hope. Yes, we ought to be teaching our children policy at an early age, and we got to embed it.
We are speaking to Dr. Roma Benjamin. She's the founder of the New Sound Literacy and Technology Center. She started her own reading center to teach children how to read and become achievers, fighting the school-to-prison pipeline. She's also the former principal of Roland School in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and a youth literacy advocate. She is speaking across the country with other community leaders, empowering them to open their own reading centers and help their children children lead a better life rather than going off to prison or dying. I want to ask you something very specifically, Dr. Benjamin, about manufacture of consent for a moment. Manufacture of consent is defined, and I'm quoting, the practice of controlling or manipulating the norms, values, etc., held by an audience by controlling what they are exposed to in the media. This can be done by a government or other institution in authority. And I got that from dictionarycentral.com. If you could, please talk about how manufacture of consent plays a part in people's voting against their own best interest in many times.
Well, Randy, we all kind of do that.
Hmm. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, it's very slippery. It's very slippery, especially when in today's world, when you look at this. I've never seen anything like this in the presidential candidates, so I guess the real deal has come, to the forefront. But, when we are controlled, in a sense, we control our kids in a sense as to what we want them to be involved in and what we want, we censor what our children watch. The government does this, the churches do this, businesses do this. And, you have to, especially when I'm dealing with kids, you have to teach them how to respect who they are and what they think, get the information that you need. I say this, you get the information that you need and you deal with it as best to your views and to your experience as much as you possibly can. We're controlled on one hand by one thing and then we're controlled on another hand by another thing, and so we have to look at, how are we going to understand what our values are, and what we will and will not allow to control us, even in the media.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the media. I mean, the media is so much in the media. You can use it either way, pro or con, negative or positive. You really can use this, to better or to worse. So, when you're dealing with a child, you're looking at your values, the values of your community, your culture, and how you want to implement them and how you want them to play a part in other people's lives, especially with this voting.
Uh-huh.
A whole lot of stuff going on out there right now.
Oh, yeah.
With this voting that is leaving everybody almost in a tailspin as to figure out, we had a black president. We've never had a black president. So, then, according to all colors, he wasn't right. He was right. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going into another set of presidential candidates and hopefuls. And so it looks like you go from out of the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah, in some cases, sure. Yes.
So you got to start looking at, what do I do to select and not let anyone poison me based on the values that I hold, the values that we hold to be real. Because I understand, about this manufacture of consent, and people persuading you and you getting certain people of color to get on and talk against this one and talk for that one. It depends on what you value.
Another policy that has wreaked havoc in our community is the Stand Your Ground law. Now, this law pretty much allows you to shoot someone and potentially kill them simply because you feel threatened in your opinion.
I don't know how anybody could think that, if you just feel threatened, just shoot someone.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that's the case, we become a barbaric society.
Yes.
Once again. If something happens, go wrong, we just kill them. If somebody pull up in front of me and I'm driving, I just reach into my feet and take a gun. The gun laws are all out of control, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole thing is systemic when you think about it, but
Yes.
just to kill somebody because you feel threatened. Well, look, our young men are killing each other every day. They're pulling guns and killing each other every day. So, if somebody walks up on your property and come in your house, you have a right to protect that.
Yes.
I believe. You just
Yes.
have a right to, that you trespassing on my property. You have a right to protect it. But just because somebody looks threatening to me or of another color or, I have information that is not correct, you just shoot them. Once again, that's where we are ignorant. The darkness of ignorance is a killer.
Yes, it is.
Because if we had people who were brave enough to stand up against that, and I'm probably sure they have. Because, once you get in government, you're dealing on another level. He's not even in office, I don't believe. Is he still governor?
No, it's not.
If I'm in a wrong neighborhood, first of all, something could happen. But if I got the mindset that black boys or black young men want to kill me, and I just pull out a gun and shoot them, something's wrong.
Yeah, there's a lack of some kind of mental continuity or some logical thinking. Some kind of thinking where it's like, okay, let me assess this here real quick. You know, if I see some young black youth coming towards me, or if I'm walking in one direction, I see them coming in my direction, I can go the other way. I can cross the street.
Exactly.
I can run, something like that. But just to, come out and shoot somebody, to begin
Right.
with, in my opinion, if you're walking around with a gun, you're looking for trouble in the first place. That's just
Exactly.
that's just my opinion. But then
Right,
again,
and a gun has power. So when you think that you that powerful that you could just take it out and shoot anybody, but see that once again that falls into the realm of illiteracy. That's how illiterate our country is,
hmm
spiritually, emotionally, socially, mentally. That's how illiterate we are to
hmm
think that that gun is the resolve of everything.
the policy decision that really gets my attention is from many, many years ago. It was the Three-Fifths Amendment, which stated that slaves were considered three-fifths of a real person. They were nothing more than chattel. Do you believe that black people as a whole can fully understand the grips of this kind of legislation? And if so, do you believe it would serve as a wake up call?
Absolutely, it's a wake up call, and I've heard of that law. And because once again, I've spent many years reading and getting a better understanding. I understand that. So that law, I'm not three-fifths of that. If you don't know to do better, you won't do better. And yes, this should be a wake up call. This is why, Randall, this is why I spend the time in prayer and meeting with pastors across the city, across the country, and meeting with community leaders to get them to understand that literacy, reading, and that was your last approach. It unlocks the doors to our understanding. It 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 gives us the opportunity to know. If you don't know that this has been said about you, it's like the kids when I had in special ed. I would sit them down and make them read. And when they couldn't read, I read what they said in their individualized educational program.
hmm
And I read it to them. And I said, they say you read on a first grade level and you're in the seventh grade. And they would look at me and say, is that what it says? I said, exactly. Now, what are we going to do to turn this around? If you don't know what has been said about you, if you don't read it with clarity and with understanding, you'll be operating as three-fifths when God already made us whole. And that's why it's so important. We're prisoners. We're prisoners of somebody else's expectations. And I refuse to be a prisoner of somebody else's expectation. That's why I speak hard about this drive to get our children. Learning starts as early as in the womb.
Yes.
But formal learning starts, pre-K and then kindergarten. Kindergarten, the third grade is when you learn to read. Fourth grade on is when you read to learn. That's why it is so important, Randall. These policies that you called up today, yes, they do exist, and they have been a detriment to our society, but they don't have to continue to be. They really don't. That's why I'm stressing. That's why I get these kids down here 2 hours a day, 4 days a week, and train people to facilitate with them. I use testopkids.com. It's online. It's a website, very powerful. I use other tools of vocabulary. I implement writing, and this also deals with social behaviors, and it incorporates everything. And then it's a small environment. Small is the new mega because they're slipping through in school. And that's why I work so hard for stuff like the Three-Fifths Amendment. Because I can tell you right now that our average child don't even know about the Three-Fifths Amendment. They're not taught this at all. And then when we do teach it, we got to teach it from the aspect, you don't have to remain like this. From the aspect if you're getting mad and just saying, okay, Sarah, whatever it would be, I'm just going to go ahead and knock somebody upside their head and get their money because you don't think I'm a real person anyway. No. No, no. We got to take that power away from an amendment and really put it into the hearts of our kids and the hearts of our adults, because every adult that cannot read is a child in them that cannot read. And we got to stop making excuses as African Americans. Randall, we got to start somewhere.
We have been speaking to Dr. Roma Benjamin. She's the founder of New Sound Literacy and Technology Center. She started her own reading center to teach children how to read and become achievers, fighting the school to prison pipeline. She's also the former principal of Roland School in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and a youth literacy advocate. And she's speaking across the country with other community leaders, empowering them to open their own reading centers and help their children lead a better life rather than going off to prison or dying. Please feel free to plug your website or any other projects that you're involved in.
My website is www.newsound, the whole two words, New Sound, L as in literacy, T as in technology, C as in center.com. You can also reach me at 717-545-4594. That's 717-545-4594. We have the power to bring change in the education realm.